Good morning. Welcome to Auburn Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, located in the occupied ancestral land of the Muskogee Creek Nation. My name is Norika Aoi. I'll be serving as your service associate today. Welcome to this morning, this day, and this opportunity to be together in the community, which is a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenges. This Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We are not here because we figured out our life's questions or because we think we got it right. We come here to learn more about being in a relationship together, how to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion in one another. On behalf of the members of the fellowship, I extend a special welcome to all visitors who are joining us for the first time, and to those of you who still feel like visitors. If we have not already done so, please fill out the digital visitor card by visiting auf.org/visitor so that we may welcome you. You may also contact our minister, Reverend Chris Rothbauer, at minister@auuf.org with any questions or concerns you may have. Let us move into the service, willing to be authentic with each other, honest within ourselves, and opening to connection in all its forms.
Our opening words are from Kimberly Ann Tomchek Carlson. It is not by chance that you have arrived here today. You have been looking for something larger than yourself. Inside of you, there is a yearning, a calling, a hope for more, a desire for a place of belonging and caring. Through your struggles, someone nurtured you into being, instilling a belief in a shared purpose, a common yet precious resource that belongs to all of us when we share. And so you begin seeking a beloved community, a people that does not put fences around love, a community that holds its arms open to possibilities of love, a heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts. Welcome home. Welcome to worship.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
I invite you to light your chalice with us this morning with these words from Gregory Pelly. And so we gather from the web and flow of our lives, thirsty for connection to ourselves, thirsty for connection to others, thirsty for connection to the larger life. As we light this chalice, may all who gather here be filled with joy and hope, filled with compassion and love. Here, May we be filled so that we may pour ourselves out into the world. As in our tradition, we also light a candle in solidarity with those families separated our southern border. I would like to invite you to join in our opening hymn, hymn number 145, in the Great Hymnal, As Tranquil Streams. The words will be shared on screen.
As tranquil streams that lead and merge and flow as one to sing the sing, our kindred hearts and minds unite to build a church that shall be free, free from all bonds that bind the mind to narrow thought and lifeless free, free from all social code that fails to serve the cause of human need, a freedom that reveres the past but trusts the dawning future more, and bids the soul in search of truth adventure boldly and explore. Authentic church, the future waits, the liberating ministry. Oh, Father, the prayer of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free.
One of the ways that we proclaim the warmth and caring of our community is by sharing our joys, concerns, and milestones. We invite those who wish to use the Zoom chat box to type your joy, concern, or milestone during that music for meditation. If you wish for our joy or concerns to be acknowledged, but don't want to share it, you may also type that you have an unspoken joy or concern. Thank you to all who shared their joys, concerns, and milestones this morning. These joys and concerns were submitted in advance for sharing. Gramelda Smith asks us to please keep her cousin Carol Hodge in our thoughts. Carol will have hip surgery to drain bursitis. Martha Lowe is remembering those whose lives were lost 19 years ago this past week on September 11th, 2001, as well as in the aftermath, those who suffered and died due to the toxic surroundings during the cleanup. Sharon Roberts is safe and well in Eugene, Oregon. She is no danger from the fire, though air quality is hazardous. That would improve over the next few weeks. Thanks to all her AUF friends who have been concerned. And I also would like to add a joy for tree removal and 3 tree removals in the playground. I specifically thank Kirk Iverson, who was involved from the beginning to the end, and then Sean and Laura, and then the board, and also Temesgen and Patrick. I am very thankful. Every time I get the report from people that they saw fallen branches, my heart was pounding, so thank you. May all the joys, concerns, and the milestones of this community, those shared aloud and those held in silence, be received into the care and concern of all present. The purpose of Unitarian Universalist communities is to encourage all who gather there to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This is the great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. As is our custom, on the second Sunday of each month, we now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will support an organization in the community whose values align with our own, that is doing amazing work in the Auburn, Opelika area. For the month of September, 100% of unpledged donations in the offering basket will go to support Montgomery Bailout Fund. The Montgomery Bailout Fund is a local Black-led organization, offshoot of the National Bailout Organization. The Montgomery Bailout Fund directly supports our neighbors who are disproportionately affected by incarceration and the unjust justice system. This project is a network of local volunteers, including attorneys, activists, writers, teachers, and others who have mobilized to help post bail for as many as possible who are detained in Montgomery, Alabama, with the highest risk of COVID-19 infection and the lowest risk of recidivism. There are many benefits of posting bail to get folks out of pretrial detention, and more information can be found at www.nationalbailout.org. As a predominantly white congregation, I think it's especially important for us to use our privilege and resources to follow the Black leaders who are and who have always been doing work in the Black communities. I believe the sixth principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, is most directly linked to the bailout work. But the first principle, inherent worth and dignity of every person. Second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Fifth principle, right of conscience, and use of the democratic process in society at large. And the seventh principle, respect for interdependent web of existence, all also apply. Please give generously this morning as you are willing and able, as we bring the compassionate spirit of Unitarian Universalism into the world. To make a donation online via PayPal, please visit auuf.org/donate. If you're writing a check, please make your check payable to AUUF with a note on the memo line about whether it is for the offering or your pledge, and mail it to P.O. Box 669, Auburn, Alabama 36831. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Our waters combine, our waters combine. Now's the time our waters combine. Somewhere a stream runs to a river. The waters combine. And somewhere a river meets the sea. The waters combine. Our waters combine, our waters combine. Now's the time our waters combine. Many cities will make it to the ocean. The waters combine. Oceans reach out to people everywhere. The waters combine. Our waters combine, our waters combine. Now's the time our waters combine. Like leaves of an ivy reaching toward the sun, but staying connected to the vine. Or like pieces of a puzzle, they tingle together to make a pretty picture when it's done. LinkedIn fellowship, this fellowship of ours. Somewhere a stream goes to a river, the waters combine. Somewhere a river meets the sea, the waters combine. Waters combine, our waters combine. Now's the time our waters combine. Our waters combine, our waters combine. Now's the time our waters combine. Our stream is this fellowship.
Hi everyone. Today we're going to be doing our water communion. And I thought in honor of that, we could talk about water. Where does water come from? Well, rain falls upon the surface of the earth, and pulled by gravity, each drop begins to flow downhill. Drop merges with drop, all flowing together into a trickle, a streamlet, a creek, a mighty river flowing onward. Some of the water seeps down into the earth itself as groundwater or deep aquifers, where it will stay for days, years, or even millennia until it's pulled up again by tree roots, wells, springs, and geysers, rejoining the dance, the flowing, the flowing, the flowing. The water flows on until it collects in ponds, lakes, seas, and vast oceans. And all the while, the sun's rays warm the water, calling it back into vapor, so light that it can rise up, 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 each molecule moving on its own again, rising into the higher atmosphere, buoyant and swirling up to where the air grows cool and the water vapor slows and cools and begins to turn again back to droplets. Droplets find droplets and join together again and again, forming clouds, growing heavier and heavier, until at last the weight of them pulls them down again, and rain falls on the surface of the earth again. Everywhere on earth, at every moment, is somewhere in this cycle. Cycles upon cycles, falling, flowing, sinking, transforming, rising, again and again and again. Our planet has all the water it will ever have and has ever had. This water cycle has been spiraling around and around for more than 4.5 billion years. This means that the water we gather in our annual water communion ritual comes from all over the world, and also from across all time on earth. The water we gather today has traveled through the root systems of trees, long since returned to soil, burst from geysers that ceased spraying millennia ago, and flowed down rivers that have changed course entirely over billions of years. This morning we also remember that the water cycle doesn't only involve rivers and plants and clouds, but also involves creatures. The water cycles through us too, coming in and out of our bodies in different ways. That means that the molecules in the water from Lake Chihuahua or from your swimming pool could have been the tears of joy cried by the first person who ever felt love. Or that water from our fellowship sink contains within it molecules that were once in the best chicken soup someone ever ate, or in the sweat of the people who built our fellowship building and our town, or in the blood of the mothers that birthed our grandmothers' grandmothers' grandmothers, or even in dinosaur pee. What and when and where else do you imagine this water has been? Type your responses in the Zoom chat box, or ask an adult to help you type your response. Think about it. Where else could this water have come from before it came here to this fellowship? As we gather the waters of community this morning, let us remember they connect us to everything that has ever been and everything that ever will be. This is the power of the water we share.
A reading from Baba Road. Of course, truth is hard. It is a rock. Yet I do not think it will fall upon me and crush me. I do not think they can hammer it to bits and stone me. Help me place the rock in the strong current of these rushing waters. I must climb upon it. I must know how truth feels. When I plunge naked into the bright depth of these waters, I must know how truth feels. When I'm swept by a cold fury of these waters, I must know with my whole being how truth feels. I shall remember how truth feels. I praise the rock. I praise the river. I fear the drought more than death by water.
Greetings, Unitarian Universalists. I'm Susan Frederick Gray, president of your Unitarian Universalist Association. This is the season of ingathering, a time when we celebrate the beginning of another congregational year, another year of ministry, another year of holidays and holy days. Across our association, hundreds of congregations and tens of thousands of Unitarian Universalists mark this time with special celebrations, coming together to remember the life-saving, life-affirming value of our religious communities. We are living in heartbreaking, precarious times. There is so much grief to hold and so much injustice to withstand and resist. If you are struggling right now, feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or depressed, I can tell you, you are not alone. It's times like these when we most need to reach out for help to one another and in community. Times like these when we need practices and opportunities to remind us that we are not alone, to bring to the altar of life all that we hold in our hearts, and to feel the support of beloved community, which is a continual source of courage and resilience. In-gathering celebrations are particularly important because they remind us of our fundamental connectedness. It's so easy to feel isolated and alone right now. It matters that we take time to just pause, to breathe and feel the ways that we are fundamentally linked to each other, even across this virtual space. How we are fundamentally linked to humanity and to this earth. Part of the lesson of this time is to live more fully into the interdependence that is at the heart of our values. Two things I've said from the beginning of my time as presidency are: number one, this is no time for a casual faith and no time for a casual commitment to what you value most. And number two, this is no time to go it alone. And these words, this challenge, they continue to be true today. No matter the distance or how we gather, we are connected by unseen but real threads of care and intention, of the hopes we have for one another in this world. We are connected by our commitment to love and justice, and we are connected as Unitarian Universalists. There really is no script for this time, and yet our fundamental values haven't changed. We affirm the inherent worth and dignity of all people, and we will not let up in our work for justice. Our commitment to equity and compassion in all things, our willingness to learn and grow, our honoring of the interdependence of all creation, these values endure, and they guide our way always. I am so grateful for the ways that you are caring for one another and the well-being of your community. May you also make time to care for your own well-being, to nurture and tend to the goodness that is in you. And as we all celebrate this time of ingathering, may we feel the strength, the love, the connection and presence of our wider UU community. For it is holding you, it is holding me, it is holding all of us. Friends, I send you my love, my blessings. I pray for you and your loved ones and your community. Take good care of one another. Blessed be, and amen.
The minister's ingathering homily is often used to share some sort of message for the coming year, often a message of unity and coming together, the start of the congregational year being symbolic of the way we come together as a fellowship. This may feel like a more difficult task this year, given that, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are having to do ingathering virtually for the first time in our congregation's history. In some ways, it may not feel like ingathering. We're not together and we're not getting ready to have a panoramic photo outside after a moving service. It's difficult for me as well. I've done the ingathering and water communion many times for several different congregations, and one of the personal joys for me is being able to see everyone come back together again from their summer adventures, whether those be far away or closer than home. Indeed, I had envisioned that this would be one of my first Sundays back after study leave and vacation. I miss seeing you all so much, and you're right. It's not the same as if we were all together. And if we never have another virtual ingathering, I would be perfectly happy if we don't have to learn from the mistakes of this year. Though I don't like our current reality, though, it serves as a reminder of a truth. Our congregation is more than just a building, more than the once-a-week trips to the fellowship that no doubt became routine for so many of you for so many years. This is a truth I've long recognized after serving as an intern minister in an 1850s era congregation in Louisville who survived their building burning down, not once, but twice. Indeed, when I served there from 2012 to 2014, there were still quite a few members who remembered the last time the congregation had been homeless, when their beautiful turn of the century building burned down on Christmas Eve, 1985. It was a tragedy they could possibly foresee. The furnace caught fire that night, and before they knew it, all that was standing was the stone walls. Indeed, things seemed to be going really well for them before that. After the departure of their beloved long-serving minister, who would soon become their minister emeritus, they had just called a new charismatic pastor who they hoped would lead them into the next chapter of their existence. Membership was up. They were known in the community for their social justice efforts, and they even provided a home to the local Metropolitan Community Church, a Christian denomination that intentionally reaches out to the LGBTQIA+ community at a time when being a queer person was still far from being accepted. They could have despaired when their furnace caught fire that cold winter night. In fact, I suspect many of them did. However, they soon had an offer from a church in Louisville's West End to meet there until they could rebuild. And rebuild they did, bolstered by their new minister. Yes, some people fell away during the interim period between buildings, but the core held together, and they came out on the other side stronger than they could have ever imagined. That Christmas Eve, a quote was on the congregation's wayside pulpit, a prominent sign where the minister and lay leaders chose simple messages to highlight to their surrounding neighbors, usually an inspirational quote. That evening, the television stations that were covering the fire did notice, not unironically, that the hopeful message was from American politician Ivy Baker Priest. The place which may seem like the end may also be only the beginning. For my internship congregation, what could have been an ending, a falling away, turned out to be the beginning of a new chapter. Today they have a beautiful rebuilt building, and so beautiful that the architect actually joined the congregation. And they continue meeting each week. Their charismatic minister served about 15 years before he departed, and they've had 4 settled ministers since the fire. And though the scars of that night will never go away, trust me, you should have seen the look on their faces one day when I accidentally put too much oil in the chalice. It was truly a chance for renewal, a reminder of how important the congregation was to those who were apart. What they discovered was that as important as that building was to them, it was not the congregation. And today they have a beautiful building that they love to take people on tours of, pointing out the architectural genius that went into making it from the remains of the previous building. But they know that even if that building once again burns to the ground, falls away, no matter how much they didn't want it to, there will be life on the other side. There will still be their congregation, because their congregation is not the building, but the connections they bring to one another, to the stream of their lives. We're not quite in the same situation as my intern congregation, and I'm certainly not wishing it on us, but we are similar. It's not safe for us to come into one body for this ingathering. Yet this congregation has persisted. Many of you have been at most, if not all, the services since we went virtual in March. And a good portion of you are participating in adult religious education programs like covenant groups and second hour. And I was so happy to see so many of your faces in our social justice efforts this summer. And most heartening, I hear reports weekly about your outreach efforts to those both in our local congregation and the larger community through pastoral interventions that let people know they are cared for. I am so proud of this congregation, and when folks ask me where I minister, I do not hesitate to beam and say, I minister at Auburn Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I believe that we will not only come out on the other side of this stronger than ever, but with a sense of just how powerful loving community can be, just how powerful connection can be in times of trial and tribulation. In the midst of this pandemic, our congregation is being transformed in many ways. We will soon have a new acting director of religious exploration to answer the question that has been on so many people's minds. Yes, we are interviewing this week and next. This person will help lead our children and youth religious education programs through the pandemic. And even though that means transitioning from a person we all love, it also means a new chapter in our fellowship is beginning. And we will be talking a lot this year about who we are as a fellowship and who we want to be in this new chapter. I know this congregation will rise to the challenge because the congregation I've gotten to know over the last year is one that doesn't back down in the face of pain and adversity. I believe in you. I believe in us. We're all out there, in the words of American actress Claire Danes, looking for a connection to life that is real and lasting. As we prepare to do our annual water communion, may those streams of connection that flow from our lives continue to connect us, no matter how dire the world may look to untrained eyes. For I know that even in the worst looking situation, the sacred still appears because of our ability to support and be with one another. We need one another. In our toughest times, may we be reminded that what we have here will sustain us, will quench our thirst in the days to come. May it be so. So at this point, I want to tell you a little bit about water communion if you're new to our congregation. It's an annual tradition in many Unitarian Universalist congregations, representing how we come together from many sources after our previous summer away. Each year, as we gather in the fall, it is our custom to offer water as a symbol of our connection to each other. This morning, because of COVID-19, we unfortunately cannot do this in person. However, over the last 2 weeks, we invited folks to either come to the fellowship and create a video or else to do one at their own home, talking about their water and what it represents, with many thanks to Daryl for help with so many of the technical aspects as usual. I feel so blessed to present our virtual water communion.
Greetings, it's Laura, and I'm here to share some water because after working out on the playground with the fallen branch and pruning up all those little limbs and hauling them to the curb, I'm pretty thirsty. I'd like to drink this, but instead I'm going to share it here. I'm going to pour it on this globe. So that's my water for the day.
Hi, I'm Ralph, and I haven't been anywhere lately, so the water I'm adding is Auburn tap water. Unfortunately, I won't be able to zoom in on the in-gathering meeting because my brothers and I are heading out to Colorado, where they also don't have a lot of water. In fact, they have a lot of wildfire problems there now, so maybe I'll take a little bit of water to them because they need it more than we do. Love y'all. Miss you.
Hello, I'm Sean. I got up to Sipsey Wilderness 3 times over the summer. and it's a really beautiful place. I'd like to say that I'm glad to be back, but since I can't see any of my friends, I wish I could have stayed up there forever. This water is either or has trace amounts of water from the Sipsey Wilderness, Sipsey River. So it probably has a tiny bit of river otter poop in it, which might or might not lead to giardia, I can tell you.
Well, like most people, I have not traveled this summer, except to Notasulga to see Richard. But now I'm here to pour my water in and to hope for closeness and friendship and life more normal in the not too distant future. Thank you.
This water is from the Barrington Blue Hole where my grandmother was born and raised. The community's gone now, but it's still a reminder to share life together.
Here I made with sugar and water, watching our murder of crows drink and wash their feet in the lovely bird bath that Amy Kaiser made us. Water is joy.
My water represents the lakes and waterfalls and other bodies of water surrounding the mountain in Highlands, North Carolina, the UU Retreat Center where Calvin and I spent a week this past summer. That was very, very refreshing.
Well, like everyone else, we pretty much didn't get to go anywhere due to COVID, but something we have been doing is eating lunch on our lovely porch just about every day together. And that has given us the opportunity to see the birds in the bird baths of the bird feeders flying around just for our entertainment, of course. And so this water is from one of our bird baths.
And also we've been going for afternoon walks, so a little exercise too.
No water there.
Well, summer was a lockdown affair, and like a lot of people, I imagine, I spent a lot more of my time in the garden, which made the herbs and the flowers happy, and the containers of green plants were much more attended to and therefore lush this summer. This water is also for the tears that we shed when our sassy cat, our 19-year-old kitty cat, went away this summer. We had to put him down. He couldn't eat anymore. Otherwise, he would have lived another 10 years, I'm sure. But we cry for him every other day at least. So, and then lots of water because of the cleaning we're doing at home, because we're selling our house. And we're going to put that on the market soon. And we're going to leave, and we're going to go out west to a part that we hope isn't burning. Or we will definitely not go to a place that is burning. We will go someplace not burnt. And we just don't know where that is exactly. So I'm going to pour in a little bit more water for all of the rain that I could be praying for all of the people in the West whose homes are burning, and the creatures who are homeless now or maybe have even lost their lives. So lots of water. We're praying for water. Praying for water.
And this water is to
commemorate the water that Gene Hunter is turning into wine this time of year over at his winery.
So we have a family tradition that in summer we go to a few places within the country, and for water communion we usually bring from the places that we visited. But this time we are using the water that's already here. But this represents the places that we visited and the waters that we touched, felt, and saw as well.
So this summer, spring to summer, we were able to go to several Georgia state parks due to the COVID event-free weekends, and the waterfalls and beautiful rivers of Georgia state parks. We were also able to go to Lake Taneycomo in Missouri, ice cold water, and a very warm Atlantic Ocean, Orlando Beach in Florida. And last is for Pacific Ocean that I wish I could have been able to cross after the passing of my maternal grandfather and father.
I'm Conrad Ross, and I always knew that I was the son of an immigrant, but recently when my daughter Catherine was home, we did some research on Ancestry.com. We found that there's a person by the name of Maurice Simpson, who at the age of 10 traveled with his mother, who was my grandmother, Gayla Rosansky, and his father, Herschel Simpson, from Bremen, Germany, to visit my grandfather, Wolf Rosansky, in Chicago in 1913. Turns out that Maurice later became a doctor and was my birth doctor in Chicago in 1931. I was amazed to find this out. This water, imaginary water, is to commemorate that trip that Maurice took from Bremen to Baltimore in 1913. Thank you.
Let's probably a better tree.
We know not everyone who wanted to participate today was able to provide a video. So I am going to pour some symbolic water into our fountain to represent all those who weren't able to make videos. And if you weren't able to make a video, I would like to invite you to type in the Zoom chat box what this water is representing for you this morning, what you are bringing to our water communion. May the waters here remind us of what each of us brings to this community, and of the waters that nourished us even before we were born, that continue to give us sustenance and energy for our life's journey and for all creatures on this earth. And may we gratefully continue to swim to the other side. I'd like to invite you to join us in our closing hymn, which is hymn number 1046 in your Till hymnal, Shall We Gather at the River? If you're still typing your water communion submission, feel free to continue,
Otherwise, I invite you to join us. The words will be shared on screen.
Shall we gather at the river, where bright angel feet have trod, with its crystal tide forever, flowing through the night? Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. On the margin of the river, washing up the silver spray, we will walk and worship ever on the golden way. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows at the throne of God. Where we reach the shining river, may we ever guarded down. Grace our spirits will deliver, and right our robe underground. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. Soon we'll reach the shining river. Soon our pilgrimage will cease. Soon our happy hearts will quiver in the memory of peace. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of
Please join me in extinguishing our chalice. You'll find the words on screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Please be our guest today after the service for a virtual coffee hour here in a Zoom room. We'll be creating breakout rooms to encourage deep conversation and reflection on this morning's service, or if you just want to talk about your week, to talk about your week. Simply stay in this room following the service, and you'll be automatically invited to a breakout room. Also, please join us for a Touchstone second hour today after the service. Chris Baskier will be leading a viewing and discussion on a TED Talk regarding worth and dignity. If you would like to join, just let us know following the service, and we will invite you to the second hour breakout room. If you are not signed up for the UUF Connect Reserve, please make sure to do so to receive updates about ways to connect virtually during this time. You can find information on signing up at our website, auuf.org/subscribe. Registration for children and youth religious exploration will be digital this year. Watch the listserv for information on how to register for your religious exploration. If you have any questions about registering, please contact Julie Meadows or Emily Graff. Congregational Support Committee truly appreciate the ongoing support of the Diana's Pantry program. If you are in need or know someone who is in need of grocery or household items, please contact Eddie, Emily Levan, or me, Noriko. Applications are accepted year-round. As I mentioned in the joys and concerns, the 3 large trees are down, but they are still with us in the parking lot. Sean and others plan splitting next weekend and give firewoods for donations. Please contact Sean, me, or Kirk if you are interested. We still have quite a bit of physical work and will keep physical distance during the work. Now, please join us for our sung benediction.
Go forth into the world in peace, in peace. Be of good courage, hold fast that which is good. Go forth into the world in peace, in peace. Love all people, rejoicing in the power of the Spirit. Go in peace.
Our benediction is from Amy Zucker Morgenstern. May all our hours together be blessed as this one has been, by open-hearted sharing, learning from one another, and making beautiful harmonies together. And may we greet everyone we encounter with the same acceptance and grateful kinship until we meet again. Amen. Blessed be, and go in peace.
Hello, everyone. That's not good. Okay, maybe that's better. Chris Basker, I'm gonna make you the host so you can do the breakout rooms. More. Okay, Chris, you can do the breakout room now and create that. And so far, Chris, I have Marge, Susan McAllister, Kristen, you, Emily and Peter, and Jim Newton that want to be in the breakout room for the discussion of the TED Talk thing. You can put the other people that are here in a coffee hour. Just create another room for a coffee hour with everybody else. Thank you, guys. Is anybody there? Can anybody hear me? I can hear myself. What is going on? I'm not muted. I think Chris is moving people into the breakout room now. And I don't have control over it anymore, so I guess I could take the back, but I don't want to mess Chris up. Conrad, Judy. Hi, Judy. Are we still the only ones here? I don't know why I can't hear you, Judy. I'm sorry. I can't hear anybody. Oh, your microphone's muted, Judy. Oh. Oh, okay. I see. Oh, and I can't do that now.
I think you can.
Oh, you think I can?
There you
Oh,
go.
okay.
Now you should be able to unmute Judy.
All right. I think Kim and I are going to be with a covenant group discussion at 3. This is the first one for that group. So I think I've spent too much time. I mean, good time, but need to do some other things. So love to everybody.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Judy. See
Thank
you in
you
a little
all.
bit.